think about the year that has gone by, and our first thoughts, of course, go to Benedict and Francis, two pivotal figures. And I think as much as Francis has been in the news and continues to be in the news, Benedict stepping down as Pope was really a historic move. You know, he decided that it was clear that we needed a strong leader in the position, and that he didn't want to just sort of allow business to happen, but that there was somebody who could be at the helm.
It makes a huge difference that Pope Francis has really brought the message to a level that people can understand in their own language, right? He speaks straight to the heart, and people really like that. There's no discontinuity in the message from Benedict to Francis or from JP2 to Benedict to Francis, right? It's deeply in continuity, but he brings a kind of freshness in the approach and in the explanation and in the expression of the message, and people really find that attractive. He expresses that joy of the gospel that he's talking about in his latest apostolic exhortation. He expresses it in his own way of speaking about and living out and witnessing to the gospel.
Francis helps convey the image that, well, you know, we really do love you as you are. And that's been a wonderful thing. You know, we're made in the eyes of God, and He loves us just as we are, not as we should be. Now, this is what I think has confused some people, because they say, oh, he's all about accepting people. Well, the Catholic Church has always accepted people as they are. It has definite stands that say, well, this behavior or that behavior is sinful. And maybe people don't want to confront that.
World Youth Day in Brazil was an amazing event, right? This past year in the life of the Church, you could see the hand of providence in the fact that we now have the first Pope from South America, and then a World Youth Day that had been scheduled, you know, by the previous European Pope to be held in Brazil. Right? So that there was a very fitting kind of ability for Francis to go back to his native continent, and he received an incredibly warm welcome.
Now, it was sort of funny when we watched things in Brazil, and scary when we saw the motorcade being blockaded by all these people. But it's wonderful just to see that people are searching, people are yearning, our world is questioning. It's such a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's what we hope for.
Pope Francis really believes in the power of prayer and the importance of prayer, the centrality of prayer in the Christian life. And he shows that in big and small ways in his own example, his own way of uniting prayer throughout all aspects of his own life. But he also shows it in the way that he responds to major world events, and the case in point being the call for a day of prayer and fasting for peace in Syria. And we were at the brink of war. I mean, it really didn't look good, and there was a huge concern that, you know, what was supposed to be a quick and small and limited kind of retaliatory kind of punishment mission would blow up into a huge war in Syria and then spreading throughout the Middle East. And the way that the Pope responded to that was, aside from exhorting world leaders to think calmly and seriously about what they were doing and favoring peace and restraint, he called for prayer, right? He called upon, as the leader of the Church, he called upon all Catholics to join with him in a day of prayer and fasting for peace, and called on all people of goodwill to join in whatever way they thought appropriate in that same effort of prayer. And we saw the results. All of a sudden, it looks like negotiations are going to be possible, and it looks like there isn't going to be a need for a military strike. It was amazing how the whole thing just diffused itself after that day of prayer. It's beautiful.